Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for another video. I of course am your host, NASCAR Nick, and we're going to make some spicy predictions today, so hope you're ready for that. We're going to do some Martinsville predictions as well as some Final Four predictions who I think the four drivers are going to be that go to Homestead and battle out for a championship. Alright, so Martinsville. Martinsville is the oldest track on the circuit, and it's also the smallest, or about the smallest with Bristol. It's a pretty tricky one to get around, and not too many people have mastered it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the list of the 8 playoff drivers and kind of see which ones I think are going to do better than some others. So jumping right off the bat, Truex seeded number 1. Truex, I think he's okay at Martinsville. He's not great at short tracks in general, so I don't want to blow his horn too much, but I think Truex will definitely be up there as he's been all year, and I think he'll probably be right around the top 10, maybe top 5, but I think for him, I don't know, getting more than a top 5 is, might actually be pretty hard, and I feel weird saying that because he's been so fast, but I don't think Martinsville is really going to be his day, so to speak. So look for Truex to be more towards 5th to 10th, I'd say. Moving on to Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is pretty good at Martinsville. He almost won there in the spring, and he should have a few wins there. He keeps getting beat right at the end, I feel like. He got beat by, who was it? I think it was Earnhardt one time, Harvick another time. And who won this spring? Whoever won this spring, I don't know. Maybe leave it down in the comments, but they beat Kyle Busch too. So I think Kyle Busch is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with this weekend at Martinsville. He's pretty much just as good as a Denny Hamlin or Jimmy Johnson, just doesn't have the credentials to back it up, but I would expect him to be up there, so expect Kyle Busch to be running top 3 at least, probably leading at some point in the race. Brad Keselowski, that's who won in the spring race. So Brad Keselowski won the spring race this year in 2017, and I think Brad Keselowski is one of those guys that once he wins at a track, he just kind of knows his way around it. So I'd expect him to be a pretty formidable force this weekend as well. So I'd expect him to be up there, maybe top 5 or back half of the top 10. Like I said, he hasn't had too much speed on the mile and a half and stuff, but I don't think, obviously, that's really going to come into play at Martinsville this weekend because it's a short track. Aerodynamics don't matter as much, so I think he'll do pretty well. He should be definitely running better than 13th or wherever he finished in Kansas. Moving on to Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick does have a win in Martinsville, but I think that was quite a while ago, or at least a few years. But he definitely knows how to get around Martinsville. He's been consistent. I'd put him definitely somewhere in the top 5, maybe like a 4th or 5th. Moving on, we have Jimmy Johnson, who is, as you guys should know already, my favorite driver. Jimmy Johnson, God, he had a terrible race at Kansas. He made it out okay with all the random stuff that was going on with Kenseth and with Larson blowing a motor, so he definitely, barely made it into the top 8, but I think Johnson finds his mojo here in Martinsville. He did it last year. Everyone was counting him out last year. He wins Martinsville, goes to the Final Four, and won the championship. Again, with some circumstances falling his way, but I've said this my entire life, and I'll say it again. I think Jimmy Johnson is the ultimate opportunist, and if he's there, he's going to make some noise. So expect him to be very aggressive in Martinsville, and I would expect him to definitely be top 5 at Martinsville, if not better. We will see. Moving on to Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin is another one of those guys, just like Kyle Busch and Johnson, that's super good at Martinsville. Recently hasn't been great for him. You could say the same about Jimmy Johnson. But I think Denny Hamlin has shown some real speed lately, especially on the mile and a half. And Martinsville, I believe he has 5 wins there, so it's a really good track for him. A lot of those years he was going back and forth with Jimmy Johnson. That was fun to watch in like 09 through kind of 2011-ish. So yeah, I definitely expect him to be up there in the top 5 as well. Most of these guys are going to be around the top 5 if you haven't noticed. They're the top 8 guys in the entire garage, right? So they've got to be up there, somewhere up there close. Second to last here, seeded 7th right now, is Ryan Blaney. So I think Ryan Blaney, he has a lot of speed at the 1.5 miles and some of the bigger flatter tracks, like a Michigan or a California. But I don't remember him being too good at these shorter tracks like a Bristol or Martinsville. So Ryan Blaney, I mean, he has to have in order for him to move on, he's going to have a decent day. I think Ryan Blaney is going to end up somewhere around maybe, I don't know, maybe 10th if he's lucky. I feel like that's pretty good. Hopefully top 15 for sure. I want to see him do well. I am a fan of Ryan Blaney, and I am a Ford fan at heart, even though I'm a Jimmy Johnson fan in NASCAR. I have to follow Chevy in NASCAR, but outside of the sport, I am a Ford fan at heart. So I would like to see Ryan Blaney do well. Hopefully he can get if he gets a top 10, I think he's looking pretty good to be a very, very big dark horse for the championship to be honest. But yeah, look for him around 10th to 12th and possibly 15th. 15th I would be a little poor, maybe like 10th to 12th range on Sunday. And then lastly, Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott, I feel like, has been super good recently. Pretty much ever since he's gotten a Cup car, he's always been pretty competitive, and I think that is going to continue into Martinsville. It's not his best track, but it's very far from his worst. He's got a lot of, I think a couple, top 5s and a few top 10s. He's only had, this will be his 4th race in Cup there, so he only has 3 races to go off of, but he's been top 10, I think, every single race. So, wow, if he strikes something right, something just has to fall his way one time and he's in the winner's circle. So I would expect him to definitely be in the top 10, probably on the back door of the top 5, if not in the top 5. So I think that's kind of the rundown of how they're going to do on Sunday. So really quickly, with all that said, I'd like to do a quick top 5 prediction of the finishing order for Martinsville. I'm going to go 5th to 1st, so I'm going to do it backwards. 5th place, I'm going to go with Kevin Harvick. I think Kevin Harvick does well at Martinsville. I don't think he wins, but I don't think he gets crashed out either. I believe that happened, last year? Or maybe it was 2 years ago that he got crashed out. But I don't see that happening at all. I think he's going to have a nice solid day, just like he's having all Chase, and he'll be 5th at the end of the day. 4th place, I am going to have to go with maybe a spoiler, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has, of course, that one win at Martinsville. I think he's underrated, honestly, at Martinsville. I think he's a very good Martinsville driver. He knows how to get around the track pretty well. And honestly, if he's not in the top 10 sometime during the race and, mainly towards the end, I would be surprised. So I think you've got to have Junior up there. I have him 4th in my pick. So hopefully he can have a good day. Maybe not 4th, but hopefully good. I think he's going to do pretty well. Moving on to 3rd, I have Kyle Busch. I have Kyle Busch coming up just shy, a few positions shy once again. And really no reason for that. I think Kyle Busch, like I said, is a really great driver at Martinsville, and he's got a lot of second places, a lot of close calls. I think Sunday is going to be another one for him. Still a solid day with a 3rd place finish. Can't really go wrong with that. He's going to have a ton of momentum going on to Texas and Phoenix. Obviously, he's fast on 1.5 miles, so that's going to bode well for him. But yeah, Martinsville, I believe he comes up just short once again. Moving on to 2nd, I am going to pick Denny Hamlin. Now, I'm picking Denny Hamlin for 2nd. Mainly because Hamlin is, as I said, really good at Martinsville, but I don't know if everything's there right now in that team for them to be clicking at 100%. I feel like they're at about 90-95%, and 95% for Joe Gibbs' car is like 110% for almost any other team, and even really Hendrick Motorsports for that matter. But I think Hamlin has an up and down day at Martinsville. I think he gets it done at the end of the day with a solid top 2 finish, finishing 2nd. And that brings me to the winner, who I think is going to win. Now, of course, this was probably pretty obvious. Of course, I think it's going to be Martin Truex Jr. I mean, how can he not win? He's Martin Truex Jr. No. I'm just kidding. Martin Truex Jr. is not going to win this race, okay? Let's be real. No, I'm not picking Martin Truex Jr. It's going to be Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson, my boy, Team Lowe's 48. Jimmy Johnson is going to be burning it down in victory lane this Sunday in Martinsville, Virginia. I strongly believe that. I mainly believe that not because of me being a diehard, longtime Jimmie Johnson fan. I mainly believe that because, number one, Jimmie Johnson is the ace at Martinsville. He's just so good at that place. 9 wins, tied third most with Jeff Gordon. How can you really argue against that, you know? And secondly, and mainly too, is he's so good under pressure. Look at what happened last year. He came back, got roughed up both times, had tire rub. They beat it back out with with those hammers, and he came back and won the race and went to Homestead. And, you know, he won his 7th championship. So you can never, I learned earlier in this season, trust me, you know, especially Bristol and Texas, I was like, oh, like, yeah, Jimmy will do 10th or maybe 15th. He won both races. So, look, I'm a Jimmie Johnson fan. I was counting him out earlier in the year. Obviously, I was wrong, and I'm definitely not going to count him out at his basically home track for record wins, I mean, besides Dover. But he owns Martinsville. Jimmie Johnson owns Martinsville. There's no question about that. And, you know, I think he gets it done on Sunday. He advances to the Final Four. I think that makes his next 2 weeks pretty easy for him. And I don't know what's going to happen in Homestead. We can do, you know, we're going to do a video on that, obviously. But yeah, I think he gets it done in Martinsville. And, well, wouldn't that be a great week for all us Jimmie Johnson and Hendrick Motorsports fans? To review, my picks for the top 5 at Martinsville are Kevin Harvick, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Jimmie Johnson winning the race. So that sums that part of the video up. Lastly, I want to talk about my Final Four predictions. So, who's going to be going to the championship round in Homestead? Now, I'm going to get the obvious out of the way. Truex is going to make it to Homestead. I'm going to say that right now on this channel, and I've definitely not been the first to say it, but I think he gets to Homestead pretty easily. He already has a 55 or something point cushion over 8th going into, not even, you know, starting the round of 8 yet. So, yeah, I think Truex definitely makes it. My second pick for it is going to be Kevin Harvick. I think Kevin Harvick has been quietly very consistent, finishing top 5, top 2, you know, 2nd at Chicago. Where did he he finished 8th at Kansas, but he's been top 5 90% of this chase so far, this playoff so far, and I think he's called the closer for a reason. He's going to be there at the end. So I have Kevin Harvick and Martin Truex Jr. in the championship 4. I also have Kyle Busch in the championship 4. Kyle Busch is just a really good race car driver. I mean, you can't fault the guy. Yeah, he's immature at times, and, you know, you can say whatever you kind of want about Kyle Busch in that regard, and I totally agree with you, but you can't argue about how good he is on the track. He already has 40-something wins in the Cup. I think 42 wins in the Cup Series, creeping up on Tony Stewart's number there. I think Stewart is 49. So he's a winner. He knows how to get it done. Like I said, he's really good at Martinsville. He's going to be really good at Texas, and I think he's going to be a threat at Phoenix, too. He's probably not going to be as much of a threat, but he'll definitely be up there somewhere. So I think Kyle Busch gets to Homestead. So now it's Kyle Busch, Truex, and Harvick, who do I have left? Jimmie Johnson winning at Martinsville, who I think is going to win at Martinsville this Sunday. I think that of course will lock him in, and he'll be the last driver in the championship 4. So that's my championship 4. I'm not going to pick a champion right now. We can do that the week before Homestead, but Truex, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, and Jimmie Johnson are my picks for the championship round in Miami. So that's it. That's all I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'm really excited to watch this race on Sunday and kind of see how it shakes down. Hopefully my boy Jimmie Johnson can get it done. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week.